Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So in this one we're going to learn how to create this simple single product view for an e-commerce site. So if you don't want the hassle of going through this, you can simply look in the description. There's a link to the actual template. Otherwise the rest of us can actually learn how to create this. Now it's got a little bit of animation, so I'm going to show you that just now. So there's this animation. Look at the amount here in a second. It's gonna shake there to bring attention to the price after a while. Then there's some hover effects as well, like that. So let's see how quickly we can come up with this. I'll stick to the end so I can show you how to add a menu at the top and a footer here to make it a full page. Alright guys, so link to the software that I'm using here is in the description. So Quickcode UI. So let me refresh this so we can start a new project, or you could click File, New Project. So should look something like this when you open it up, or maybe if you're watching this in the future, it will look very different. Alright, so let's go ahead and observe what we need here. So first of all, there is a div here, and by the way, this is all responsive. Let's check it out. Let's look at responsive design. So if I move this around, this is what you see. So very responsive. As you can see, things here are adjusting as they should. And if we move down like so, this is what we end up with. Alright, so even on the smallest screens here, you get a pretty good view of what's going on. Alright guys, so let me go back here. Let's go back to the software. So the first thing we have to do, like I always say, is cut this into smaller pieces. So first of all, looks like there's a div here that contains this section, and there's another div that contains the next section. So right off the bat, we have that. And I always emphasize that it's better to add things inside sections. So I'll click add and go to empty, and then click section. That way, the whole thing occupies the entire width. Then you can move things around. Like it's easy to move sections up and down to swap them around if you need to. So we have this item here, and I'm going to click add inside this item again. So make sure that item is selected. So you click on it so that we are adding inside here, or you could click the plus button here. So let's go to grid type 1 here. That's two divs within another div, and they have a display of flex. So this is what we have. So I have one div here and another div here. Now if I go to properties, let me click on properties, and you see this properties panel here. You see that there are styles here when I select one of these. Now since these two are using, they're not actually using the same class, but they pretty much have the same styles. So I can type here, there's flex 1 already, so you have to scroll down on this properties thing to get to this point. There's flex here, which is 1. I want to put 2 so that this side is twice as large as the other side. Now if you don't want to type directly here, you can just go to flex here and click 2. Alright, let me click and drag this a little bit. So you see there are two sections here, but I don't want the whole thing to fill up the entire space. As you can see, this doesn't go through the entire page. So what I'll do is I'll go to edit while one of these boxes is selected and click select parent. By the way, you can right click on one of these items to bring back the same edit menu if you want to. Alright, so select and click select parent. So the parent is selected. What I want to do now is limit its width. So I'll go to width here, and I don't want to use the actual width because having fixed width and fixed height is not very responsive. So we want to maintain 100% width, but we just give it a maximum. We say 1200 is your limit. So as you can see now, the thing is limited to 1200 pixels, but I want to center it, so I'm going to click on center here, and there it is. So with this side I want to put an image, so I'm going to click add item, and go to elements and add that image. Also, it's got a background color that is grayish, so I'm going to select white instead. There we go. And then I'm going to go to add a div text. While this thing is still selected, add div text there so we can have some text. On this side, let's look here. So we have one div with text and another div with text, and then we have this section here, and then we have that and that. So let's start with these two here. So I'm going to select that and add two of these div text, like so. Again, there you go. So let's make sure what we have so far is looking good. So I'm going to click on the image, and first thing I want to do is make sure the width is 100% instead of pixel. So I'll move that to %. And then I want to look at the width of, or the height, sorry, of the image. And here I can actually put a fixed height. That's fine. Height is not really usually a big issue. So let's try 350 pixels. That looks about right. Then I will double click on the image to change it. Now I will go to somewhere like what's happening here? Shopping, fashion. So I'll go to fashion here and I will click one of these images here. So there we go. That's the image we have. And on this one, I will double click to edit the text and put $50 like that. So while this is selected, I'll click center to center it. Then I will go to font and let's add a bigger font, maybe 50 pixels, something like this. All right, so good. Same thing here. This one is slightly less, so maybe 30 pixels. Let's try that, 30 pixels. And this, I think, is okay like that. All right, so let me copy the text from here since I am so lazy at typing. And let me double click in here on the text and paste. Same thing on the title itself. I'm gonna copy that and let me get back and let me paste. Good. Now this color, I want to excuse me, reduce it a little bit. So I'm gonna go to color and just click on the gray bar and just reduce it to some random number here. Okay, and close. All right, so far so good. Now we have a little bit of a margin here, right? So how you can achieve that with Flexbox is very easy. So what I'm going to do is select the parent here. The class name is grid right, just in case you're wondering what I've clicked. This is one of the boxes on this side. So I want to select the parent of those two boxes we added. So say edit, select parent. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is the item that has the display of flex. So what I want to do is add a gap. So you can use flex gap there. So I don't know if I actually added provision for this. So here where there's flex, no, we don't have that. I think on display here, should have done a better job. Yeah. The thing I forgot is the units actually. So what we'll do is we'll just go in here. You see it says gap 10, right? Let's put pixels at the end, px, like that, and you see it's left a gap between those two items. So that's the beauty of Flexbox. Let's put 20. Okay, so that looks much better. Now the parent is actually easily selectable through this gap. So through there, this thing has oh, okay, that's actually okay. Let's select the section itself, the main section here on the gray area, and let's add a color white like that. Okay, much better. Oops. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Let me select the whole section area as well. Let me add a little bit of padding. Now I want padding on the, I want to remove all padding, but just add on the top and the bottom. So I'll add 20 at the top, maybe 20 at the bottom as well. Okay, that's much better. And now let's add this section here. Yeah, let's add this section here. So this one is pretty easy. Let's select where we want to drop that. Let's add an empty div. And let me go ahead and remove its width. So I'm going to click the X over here to remove the width. Same thing with the height. I don't really want any height, so I'm going to remove that. But it's got padding, so it will remain visible. Otherwise, without that padding, it would be invisible. You would need the tree to actually see it. But with this selected, I'm going to click Add and go back to Elements and add a thumbnail here. Thumbnail 1. So thumbnail 1 looks something like this. So what I'll do is, I want to clone this a bunch of times. So I'm going to say, how many are these? These are 4, right? So I'm going to go edit and clone this a few times. My mouse is jittery. Clone, clone, clone. So we have 4 of these items, right? So the thing I want to remove is border radius, because that's what makes it round. So I'm going to go to border radius and just click the X there to remove that. And then let's reduce the padding. This is at 10 pixels. Let's put 5 pixels. Let's add a little bit of margin. Maybe on the left and on the right, not necessarily on the, or maybe both. That's fine. 5 pixels all round. I think that should do it. Maybe 10. Okay, let's go ahead and put 10. I think that's much better. And then let's select the parent of this, which is this brown thingy. I want to remove all margins here, or padding. There's padding on this thing, so I'm going to 10 pixels usually. I'll remove that. All right. Then I'll remove the background color as well. Boom. Okay, so there we go. We have our thing. And now let's make sure that the first image here resembles this one, because this is the area where the user should be clicking and stuff to select which image to view. So back to fashion, let me click on this one. Over here, I'm gonna select a different image. This is just random, so you can select whatever image you want to here. These are just examples. Now, please remember that you can always upload an image, though I don't recommend it, but you can go to custom here. This is only active if you're logged in, and then you can upload your image and use that instead. But back to fashion. Oh, by the way, there's a limited number of images you can upload there. Just a heads up. Okay, cool. So with that, we are in business. Now this one, I want this to be different. It has a thing that shows that it's things are selected, right? And there's this color that I want. So the way you can get a color from a web page is by right-clicking on it and say inspect. And usually you see there's color here in the properties, right? So I'm going to copy that hex value. So I want to add it to the text here. So I'm going to select that text and paste the color in there instead. So that's the same color we're going to be using throughout here. So I'm going to select this guy. Now I don't want it to have a different class to the other boxes here. So what I'll do is add a new class. So this one will be selected-image. So you can name these classes whatever you want. So selected image now. So now if I select, what I want to do, these guys have a box shadow. I want to cancel out the box shadow on this particular class. So by the way, moving these arrows, clicking these arrows will swap the classes around, and that order matters because the class at the very end is superior to the one before it. So the classes, in case they are similar styles, the one on the right will override what's on the left. So like right now we have a box shadow on this one, but I don't want to remove it because then I'll remove for all of these, but I just want on this one. So I'll go to box shadow here and just add a box shadow, but not what's here. I'll remove, I can't actually remove that. So this is on selected image. Let me make sure we are selected image. Okay, so reselect that. So it shows you 0, 0, 0. So just add 1 like that. This is just a fake box shadow to just remove the other one, to override the other one. And then I'll go to background color, because this other class, if you select it, there is white background color here. So on this one instead, I will paste that background color on this other class. So that's how you get that to be. So this image has two classes, these have one each. All right, cool. Now I can add the button. So that button is going to be a link, not the normal button, but a link. So we'll go to button links, and there's conveniently add to cart here. So I'm going to select that one. And I want to change the color to match this one. So I'll select this guy and observe the color and background color here. And then I'll keep pressing edit select parent until I find the item that is contributing to that color. So select parent, nothing, select parent, and now you see there's that color that I'm trying to change here. So this is the item right here. So I'm going to select all and paste that color. Now it matches the other guys, which is awesome. And then we can see this add to cart here. This one is capitalized, right? And so what I'll do is, let me close that. Let me go to text transform, and let's change that to uppercase. Now it's slightly too big, so I need to change the width of this thing. Now instead of I could just click and drag, but the thing is, I want to look at where originally the width is already being applied, then change that value. So while I've selected this, I'll repeat this select parent. Now if you don't like using the mouse here, you could use shift key plus left arrow, and that will move up to the next item, right? Oh, what did I do? Oh, so shift actually moves this as well. I didn't know you could use that to do this. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so let me select here just to remove focus from the drop down menu here and press shift left. I may need to change that hotkey. So that selected the parent of this thing. So I'm observing here to see if it has any width or height, and it seems it has left and top, which are irrelevant. I don't mind these here. So while that is still selected, let's go again, edit select parent. So there we go, we have width 150 pixels. So this is the item to change. So I'm going to go and say maybe 160, something like that. Or could be 170, like that. Okay, that looks better. Maybe 180 just to be sure. Okay, so add to cart, there we go. Or you could reduce the font size. That's entirely up to you, which is I think what I did here. Now let's put this section here where we have these selectors over here. So I'll put those guys in a div as well. So I'll go empty div, select. That way we add that div. So also let's remove the width. You could just go and type in directly here, just delete that width here and the height as well, right? So then we can go to add item, and inside inputs I will look for, on page 2 I think, there's a radio button. So boom. So that's a radio button with its thing here. So what I would do is remove, there's padding on this item. Let's reduce it further to maybe 4 pixels padding, and let's remove the background color. All right, so with this, I can say small sizes. Now I want to duplicate this a few times. Now if I select this text and just duplicate it, it's the text only I'm going to duplicate. So I'm going to say edit select handle. That will select the parent, or you could just say edit select parent until you find the overall boss, right? So here I'm going to say edit clone a few times. All right, so there we go. And if I want more spacing between these guys, I could add some margin here, maybe margin left and right. Let's put 10, something like this. Or maybe I put 5 on both. That should do it. So there's small and there's large. Now, while typing these, there's a lot of distractions here with all this information. So temporary. You can go to view and remove the show transform box here, right? And let's see, if I double click, that's small, and then there's large. No, there's medium here, sorry. You could click this if you want to see more and just click and drag. You can actually enlarge it. Let me go here. I think I should set a minimum width for this thing because sometimes it's way too small to actually do anything. Anyway, so these bugs I can fix later on the up, no problem. So then we have extra large, like so. All right. Okay, cool. So that's going on. So let me go back here. Now I want to put this one. Now remember, I've selected this and I don't see anything. Remember that I cancelled this thing. So let me put these guys back so I can still see what's going on. And so while this is selected, I will add something new. Inside inputs, there's this, not text area, but I want the one with a label on the side. Input field with a label on the side. Select. Okay, so that's that. And what comes next? So there's this, and then add to cart. Okay, so I just ended up swapping those. Okay, so we are almost there, guys. Hang in there. Okay, so I'll move this a little bit lower. And what I want to do is, there's a label here, there's an input, but I want to duplicate this label. So I'm going to go to edit and duplicate. Now I'm not cloning, I'm duplicating because I want a different class for this one. So to create an extra class here, as you can see, this label has text label as a class. Now if I go edit and duplicate, then one more is created here. So if I select that, you see that it has appended a number to that class, making it unique. So those are two classes because I don't want them to conflict or work together. So I'll select this input here. I want to change something about the input. So I'll click on input here. The placeholder should be 0 because these are numbers. The input type instead of text should be, no, actually should be text. I don't want to put number because it will give me those two up and down arrows, which I don't want. So I'll leave it as text. And what else? Required, no. The value, let's put 1 as a default value. And the name should be quantity. All right, I think that does it. Now let's go to styles. So the width, let's give it a very fixed width, maybe 20 pixels. Maybe 30. Maybe 50, 40. Okay, let's leave it at 50, right? Then I'm going to go to font, text area, text align center. All right, that's cool. And now I want to remove these things that can get annoying sometimes so we can see properly. So I'll double click on this and add a plus on this side a minus, like that. Okay, cool. Now this I have selected. I know it's selected even though I don't see the selection because the class name has changed. I'll change some properties about this. I'll use display flex. So I'll go and say display flex. The reason I'm doing that is because then I can center the text in both axes. So I'll say justify content center and align items center. That will make sure the item is in the center. Same thing here. I'll select this, display flex, center this and center that. Okay, cool. Now while this is selected, I want to add a border here, but the color I want to use is the color that this thing has. So let me make sure, let me put these back so you can see what I'm selecting. Alright, so let me copy that color. Let me come back here, select this guy, and close that. So once I select that, I'm going to go and add a border. So border size 1 pixel, and the color is that one. Same thing on this other one. So as you can see how that has been affected, I will add a color here and close that and add 1 thickness. Alright, so this is what we have now. Now if I select this main thingy here, I want to give it a fixed width as well. So let's try a width of 150. That's too little, I can see that. Let's try 180, 170. Okay, that's fine. And while that is selected, let's do, it has display flex, but it's got align items center, so I want to remove that. Now you don't have to do it from here. You can go to display here and say align items center, close that. Oops. Yeah. How about justify? And then what I'll do is, why did that actually come out? Yes, it did. Okay, and then I'll select each one of these items in here and put flex 1. So I'm going to go to flex and just make sure there's 1 there. By default there's a 1, but it isn't really active, so just move it to 2 and back to 1. Okay, that didn't do what I really wanted. I think there's some margins here, so let me select each one of these and look at which one has some margins. So I'm going to go through this, and what am I looking for? Margin, nothing in here. Padding is fine, so let me select this other first one here. So this one has got a margin, so I remove both margins here. Same thing here. Yeah, that's looking more like it. And this one I want to remove the border radius because it's rounded and I don't want any rounding here either, so border radius, delete that. Okay, so that's looking good. Now I want it rounded on this side and on this side, border radius, each one of these. So this one I'll select, and for the sake of viewer visibility I'll remove those. I know this is the thing selected, so let me go to border radius, and I want to edit the top right and give it 5 pixels. So 5, and this bottom one as well, 5. Good. Then let me select this one. Maybe you can move it to 10. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, 10 is more apparent. Okay, so let me click on the other guy and give it 10 on this one and 10 on this one. Alrighty then. Then let's make sure that cursor, where is cursor here? Cursor is a pointer. So cursor, pointer. Same as this one, cursor, pointer. That way it's a pointer when it's over these guys. Cool. So that actually does it. So let's move things around. I want to select this. Let me make sure I can still see the selectors here. Okay. And then I'll go edit, select handle, select the whole thing and move it down. So 1, 2. Wait a minute, what is happening? There we go. Okay, so is that correct? Yes. Now this, the display is inline, I guess, so I want to change it to block. So let's go to display. That's why it's appearing like this. Why is it like this? There's display block, so why then is it acting like this? Maybe it's got margin. Left auto. Okay, so that's the thing. So there's margin auto on this thing. So let me just go to margins here. And let me just remove margin on either side, just to make sure. Yeah. So I've deleted all the margins. I want to put one on top maybe of 10 pixels. Or maybe 20. M is an easier number. You can put 2M. It's quite big. Okay, there we go. All right, guys. So this is looking pretty good, and you can go ahead and save, but only if you're logged in. That is, we can do a preview though. Let me go ahead and click on preview. So it's going to do some calculations and open the thing on the, yeah, so there we go. Looking great, huh? Looking good. Not bad at all. But then let's add the fancy animations and call it a day. Also, there's a background color on this thing that we don't need. So let's go to properties and let's go to color here and remove that. Or you can put white, but let's just remove it. Okay, so let's add some animations finally, right? Adding animations is the easy part. So if I select this image right now, let's start with, let's start with that image. So I'm going to go to the animation tab here and select an animation. I'll select just the fade in. Now by default, the length, the duration is 2 seconds. Let's change that to 4 and let's play. There we go, much better. And now let me select these guys. This one, I want to add that flying in animation. So I want this to fly, to fade, rotate from the right side. So it's gonna do that. Cool. The default duration is 2 seconds. So that's okay. Let's select this one and put 3 seconds duration so that there's an overlap. And before I move on to this one, let me select it again and say when in view. That way it only animates when the user can actually see it. So fade in, when in view, 3 seconds. Not fade in, sorry. Fade, rotate. Oops. Not from the bottom, but from the right. Fade, rotate from right. Cool. So same thing here. No, actually this one, let's put 1 second, right? So we have less time to deal with these. And then 2 seconds here. And then 3 seconds here on the other one. Let's select when in view and the animation itself from the right. So let's do that for the very last one here. This one is 4 seconds when in view and the animation. Now you can put other animation here. It's up to you from the right. Okay, cool. Let's add an animation on this one as well. This one will be focus in. You can say when in view as well, but it's at the top already, but who knows. And then finally, I have this value here for the amount. I want this to wobble a little bit, to shake a little bit. So this one I'll say jello, like that. Boom. Now, when in view, of course. And I want it to delay by 5 seconds. The duration of this may be 1 second. Let's try and play that. Yeah, that's good. But I want it to delay by 5 seconds so that it does that after everything else has animated. Okay, so let's see that in action. So I'm going to go to preview. And yep, calculating. And finally, there we go. And that's how it happens, right? Let's wait for this one. There we go. So let me refresh again. There we go. Awesomeness. Cool. But now we didn't add the hover effects because the original has some hover effects here. Yeah. So let's add those. So in order to add hover effects, it's not so difficult. All we need to do is select the item we want to add a hover, like this one. Now this one has multiple classes, including the one that is on these other items. So I would rather select this one just so I don't make a mistake. Because let me click on properties here. because as you can see, sometimes it can be you can forget which class is selected and end up changing content from the wrong class. So I'd rather work on this one that has only one class, because that same class is available here as well. So let me select that and let's do a hover. Now, in order to add a hover is a pseudo class. So here you click on pseudo and combined classes. Click there. Let's go to pseudo classes here and add a pseudo class. So I'm going to click plus. There's a hover. Here you can add a hover checked. What other pseudo classes exist? Before, after, focus, checked, blur, and stuff like that. All right, so let's leave it at hover. I'll set, and then now I'm going to select the hover. So when I click, you see that is selected here. What that means is, if this is selected, it means whatever I'm changing will appear here, but just to show me how it will look like when there's an actual hover. So whatever properties or classes or styles I add here will only be active when I hover on this item. So for example, I want to add a scale. So let me transform this. So let me go to transform. Transform is good for hover effects. So I'm going to translate in the Y -5 pixels. Okay, so that it goes up. Now you see everything is acting at the same time, but don't worry, it's only doing so because they all have the same class. So I select that, and then I want to scale it a little bit. So I'm going to click up here on the scale. Oops. 1.1, something like this. Okay, so you can see the size there is growing. Okay, so you can make all kinds of changes you want. You can put rotation, whatever. You can put margins, change the color and stuff like that. Background color, etc. That's up to you, because I could change the background color here like so, right? But I don't want to do that. So let me put it back on white. Okay, so when you're done, excuse me, if I untick this, you see that I'm still selected on the hover. So whatever I'm changing still is affecting the hover only, but this time I can't see the result unless I click there, like so. So let me go back to none to make sure that I'm not affecting the hover anymore, but the actual styles. So when I hover on these, you can see the changes happening like so. But at the same time, I want a transition. So we add the transition down here. Don't add the transition on the hover. Add it on the normal class. So let's go to transition. So on transition here, how long should the transition last? You can put it at 1 second, and you can see that, but that looks too slow. So let me put it on 0.5. You can put a delay as well. So that's much better. But I want some kind of curve here. Instead of the ease, I can put bounce. That way it bounces. It's got a bounce to it. So you can go through all these and see how well they work and which one you like. I like the bounce. So that's how you put hover effects. And let's do the same thing on this. I want to do this on the parent itself, the main thing. So I'm going to say select handle. And there it is. Or you can use select parent until you find the item you want. So with that, we do exactly the same process. So select that. Luckily, this one already has a hover effect, because when we hover on this, it has an opacity. So let's select that and check. You'll see that there's an opacity there for the hover. So all we are doing is adding more to it. So since it's selected, I'll go back to transform. And as well, I want to add just a slight increase in size, 1.05. And then let's go out of here. And now, there it is. So let's put a transition as well. So let's go to transition. Transition. And let's put 0.5. And let's put bounce again. There we go. You could put bouncier. Yeah, I like bouncier as well. It's good. Alrighty guys, let's do a preview and see where we're at, shall we? Let's go to preview. And there we go. Awesomeness. Look at that. Look at that. Huh? Awesomeness. Now, here when you're testing these things and looking at animations, if I go to properties here and animation, there's a play all button if you want to play everything at once, because just this play will play the selected item only, but play all will play everything. Alrighty guys, so you can go ahead and save this project. So since I already did this project and saved, if I click on open project, you see it's right here. Yeah, so you save the project. So save, if you need to log in, the buttons will be right here, and then you can save. Now let's see how we can add a menu and a footer very easily to this same project. So let me open my own project that I had created. So we are imagining that you've saved this project here. So let's start anew. So I haven't saved this, but I have a previous version. So what you can do now is on a blank project like this, let me make sure they are not, okay, that's fine. So let's add a navigation. So select any of those navs and add, good. And then you can now say import project. So you import, and you import your thingy here. There it is. And then you can add item, and let's look for footers here. There is footer. And let me add this light footer one here. And there it is. I don't like the shadow, so I'll select the main box and go to properties. Look for box shadow and click the X to remove it. Alright, so now we can do a preview, can we? Let's quickly see how that will look like. Come on, come on, come on. Ah, there we go. So now we have a menu, this stuff, and everything is cool down here. Oh, by the way, sorry about the erasing that project. Something I think I missed there when it comes to responsiveness. Let me go to responsive view. These guys here may not wrap around. I think I forgot to... Oh, actually, they are not inside a flexbox, so it's fine. Okay, so that's okay. I was worried there that your version may not be responsive because I forgot something, but no. So you see, everything seems to work as intended. There we go. There we go. Okay, very responsive. Even the footer is responsive, as you can see. Let me move that like so. And there it is. Alrighty guys, it's that easy now to make web pages, right? Very cool, very enjoyable workflow. Alright guys, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. And there are links to the app I was using, this thing here. And I'll see you in the next tutorial.